Welcome to Healthy Frontiers. My name is Dr. Bizzoni, and this show is dedicated to the education of our viewers. Today's topic is healthy water, and my special guest is Frank Magnotta. Frank is the owner of Westfair Corporation. Welcome to the show, Frank.
All right, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Frank.
All right.
Okay, so why don't you just tell the audience what is the nature of your business?
Sure. Yeah, Westfair Water Systems, we provide solutions to the people in Westchester County, Fairfield, Connecticut, to help improve their water quality, residentially and commercially. So, we're trying to help out, get rid of different stains that might be happening if they're drinking bottled water, try to get rid of that. Tired of buying them constantly, bringing them from the store.
Right. So you could just pour some of that water into something and take it to work rather than getting bottled water, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the amount of time people spend, in their lives doing all the, especially we're so busy these days, you know. So an extra couple of cases of water in your car, and then your husband has to grab and bring them in. I mean, it's really time consuming as well as costly, and then the space it takes up. So
sure.
That's just one aspect. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into a few more. So
well, that's why,
yeah. So what is the history of your company?
Well, my father actually moved up from White Plains up to Somers and found the water quality there to be, much less satisfactory than what he was used to on city water. And we'll get into the difference of city water versus well water later. But he noticed again some staining around the house. Made some phone calls to try to figure out how to resolve these issues, and really could not find a company that was not only providing a great product but also a great service to fix the issues at his home, because he is on well water, so you're pumping it out of the ground. So it's kind of up to you to fix it. There's no regulations on it. I mean, well, then there really weren't, but we'll get into there are now.
There are
a lot of them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what makes your company unique?
Well, we offer a product that doesn't use any electricity, and also our product, just from a lot of different reviews on the web, has been really highly rated. So highly rated product, as well as our service, and family-run business. So not that always says it all, but we really take pride. My sisters run the office, and all the people that work for us. I could honestly say, when I go in there and see a job they've done, I'm always getting a lot of pats on the back from my customers and stuff. So everybody takes it very seriously, and service is only as good as the company is going to be. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of better water?
Benefits of better water, well, less cleaning time. If you have a really good filtration unit, really have to separate point of entry versus point of use first off, because they're so different. A point of entry system is going to help with cleaning time, help with appliances, help with the plumbing, making sure everything's staying clean in the house, as well as the potability. But then point of use is where we actually put a separate faucet to the right or the left of your sink, and you actually have a separate faucet to pull drinking water, high quality drinking water from. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the importance of testing water?
Well, and that's where we get into the well water versus city water.
Right, so let's go through the difference.
Yeah, city water already has their regulations, so they're making sure that there's, it's potable, there's no bacteria. Coliform's the most common kind of bacteria that grows, so they're chlorinating that water supply. So almost anyone that's on city water is going to have chlorine in it. Most people get used to the smell of it. So, I get mixed reviews. People that maybe move from well water to city water, they say, "Oh my God, it smells like a pool in here." Yeah. But people that have lived on it their whole lives, they can't eat. Their senses are so dull, from it. And chlorine does a lot of things besides, the smell. Obviously, dries out your skin along with the taste. Yeah. And then well water has so many different things. Testing that, there was a law in 2007, Westchester County put in place, local law number 7, that they have to test for, along with coliform, lead, radium, arsenic. There's a number of different tests, VOCs, volatile organic compounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the information that a test would provide. Yeah.
If you did a test from a lab, like those tests that are done to sell a home, we physically have to take that water sample over to a lab and get it tested in sterilized bottles and stuff. I can come into your house and do a test for pH level, iron, total dissolved solids, hardness in the water. Which really helps most people. I mean, I solve most of most people's water quality issues with that in-home test. So
Right.
only have to bring it to a lab if there's something specific they're looking for, or if you're selling a house. Westchester requires it. So.
Okay, so how do the results correlate to issues occurring in the home or business then?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So low pH level, you can notice blue-green staining inside a house. Low
Right.
pH is acidic water. It's aggressive water, so it's really looking to eat up whatever it's coming in contact with. So when it eats up the copper pipes inside of your house, and this actually happened to my sister. This was one of the other things that prompted my dad to start the business.
Yes.
Was that he didn't find somebody that was really solving her problem, but with the low pH level. So
Right.
And then hardness, you might notice some staining around your fixtures. White buildup, calcification.
Yeah.
Shower heads is a big one.
Yeah.
Hot water brings that hardness out of solution a lot more. So
Yeah, I have to think that
yeah.
you're seeing that around the faucet, and it's doing that to marble or whatever topping.
Yeah.
What's it doing to your body?
Absolutely, man. And we were talking a little bit,
Right.
about where you live and stuff,
Yes.
and it's places where you don't see it also inside of a hot water heater, right?
Yes.
A lot of buildup inside of there. So
Yeah.
actually went on a call just today where they said, listen, we're on our 4th hot water heater in 20 years. I mean,
Right.
5 years, flipping them around. So
Sure.
it was all the calcification inside of it. So
Yeah, it just breaks it down.
breaks it down. Well, yeah, and it causes the element to not be able to heat up as much, actually, is what's happening. So that element gets burnt out because it's trying to heat the water. The calcium's coming out of solution. It's covering that element,
Right.
and then it's not able to heat the water properly. So actually, even though they're replacing it after 5 years, they really are getting diminished returns from that hot water heater after the first day it's put in because
Right.
that calcium's starting to build up, and it's not heating the water as quick as it could be. So you're wasting energy.
Sure.
Basically. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, which
That's
is what
just
we're all
one.
trying to combat these days, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, absolutely.
So what effects do those issues have upon the health of the homeowner?
Health of the homeowner, we look at, I mentioned before, coliform, that's the most common bacteria that they find. But, TDS levels, total dissolved solid, if that's above like 500, that's something you want to correct with a drinking water system. And then even if you're on municipal water, you're still worried about, how much chlorine are they putting in. And besides the chlorine, these pipes that the water travels through are very old. We are pulling it out of a reservoir. So even though the city is making it to be workable within their constraints. They're doing the best they can to provide
Right.
quality water, but
Right.
some things can slip by.
Sure.
A lot more pharmaceuticals. I know up in Stamford, up that area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pharmaceuticals that they found in the rivers up there. So
Yeah. Okay,
so
things you don't even know.
things you don't even think about. Yeah.
Okay, so what effects do those issues have upon the health of a home? Exactly.
Well, the health of the home, we mentioned
Yeah.
inside the hot water heater, it could affect dishwashers. And again, this is where you have to separate the two things. The point of entry system, which we could put like a UV light in, let's say, to kill bacteria, isn't really going to hurt the home so much as the water you're ingesting. So,
Right.
around the home though, yeah, if you're, one of the main things that happens with us, somebody updates their kitchen, right?
Correct.
And they think they have this beautiful new fixture, this new marble, whatever
Right.
it is, and 6 months down the road, all of a sudden it's starting to look like the old stuff, and the new homeowner with the new addition or the renovation, panics, and they're like, this is looking like and when they moved in, maybe they came from city water, they just thought that it was old, but
Right.
in the meanwhile, it was all the water that whole time that was beating up, the fixtures, the dishwasher, the countertops, just from the water splashing around. So, within a home, I would say really more of the working components, like I was saying, appliances,
Right.
shower heads,
I was just gonna
fixtures,
say, yeah.
the actual pipes. A pinhole leak from that pH level, could happen inside of the wall of your house. You might think, nothing of it. I had one customer thought his toilet was leaking, but it was
Right.
actually a pinhole leak behind the toilet inside the wall. And it took him months to figure that out. He had to, rip out that whole entire wall and,
Right.
replace it. So,
And found it. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
found the
So
the
what
leak
could be
there.
done to correct these issues then, Frank?
Yeah, we sell, like I was saying, equipment that would point of entry and point of use. So really point of entry to correct what we were talking about, you could put in a neutralizer, which would raise up that pH level, and follow that up with a water softener, which would remove all the hardness. So those
Do
are
you
probably
need both?
Yeah, you know what? Most times you do because especially if we're correcting the pH, the way that we like to do it, which is a very natural way, is to add calcium to the water. So it's actually bringing up the hardness even higher than what it might have been when it first started. And then in that case, a water softener after that or a conditioner,
All right, so wait a
would
second.
polish
Okay,
that.
let's go
Yeah,
back a second.
okay.
All right, you're bringing up
Sure.
the hardness with calcium. You're trying to
Yep.
get rid of calcium.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
Just explain that a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Well, pH is actually CO2 that's in the water. So you actually have too much of that gas in the water. So even though there might be a little bit of hardness there prior to, that calcium is going to get eaten up by the CO2 in the water. So when that calcium dissolves, it's actually adding a little bit more hardness to the water. So that's kind of how that chemical reaction occurs. So that calcium is a self-sacrificing media. So it actually has to get refilled every year to keep that pH level up. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we talk about private wells versus municipal water? We touched on it a couple of times in the beginning. Why don't you just get right into that? What's the difference between if you're living in the city with municipal water versus well water?
Yeah, well, again, they're chlorinating that water supply. It is traveling through pipes to get to your house. So, another thing that comes up all the time on municipal water is, people telling me, geez, sometimes the water's all brown. I don't know what's going on there, or they'll know what it's from. And usually it's from they'll clean the fire hydrants, or they'll depressurize that line and then repressurize it, so you get a big blast of sediment or brown water, as people explain it, coming through, and that's like a tough issue to deal with. So you really want to put something, again, point of entry to take care of, like a filter to take care of that brown water. It's really just things coming off the pipes. But difference between that and well water, where you actually have a pump out in your house, out in the ground, and it's actually pulling that water out of the ground right into the house. So it's really on the homeowner to correct any of those issues.
So basically you still want to get it corrected as it's coming into the house, whether it's coming from the well or coming from the city.
Absolutely, yeah, because there's only so much they can do, whether it's on municipal or well water. And then there's in between, actually, which is similar to the quality of water you're on, community well. Which is, a big development somewhere in the county where you can't actually provide municipal water, but you're not going to have every homeowner, they're not going to have their own well, right? Because the houses are local. So it's a community well. So there, again, it's similar to municipal. They have to chlorinate that supply, kill the bacteria, but since you're pulling it out of a well, the hardness level might be very high. And again, hardness, calcium, magnesium in the water.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what outside environmental factors can lead to water quality changing?
Sure. Well, Sandy is a great example. Water quality changed a lot there for those residents. That I actually sold a job in Long Island. That was pertaining to that. The water table got so high that it actually some bacteria got into their water because the sewage and the supply got to a level where they mixed a little bit, and there was nothing they could do about it. I mean, the water table, it is what it is. I mean, that was one environmental factor. Actually, in the Hudson River, not this past summer, last summer though, there was a tree that fell, broke a sewage pipe, and they had hundreds of thousands of tons of raw sewage going into the Hudson. I don't know if you remember that, but it was.
I do remember.
So things like that. Water quality is going to change. So and then if you're, and that's municipally speaking. If you're looking at your own well, private well, I can't tell you how many times, especially some of these older homes and wherever it is, Armonk, Pound Ridge, and they build a new development, and they're maybe drilling other wells that aren't that far away from this development that's been there 50 years, and underneath the crust of the earth, you have these new lines that open up. So you have a new aquifer that opens up, and someone might get iron in their water that they never had before. So all of a sudden they have toilets that are staining, tile in the bathroom, tubs and things like that.
You're tapping into that already existing supply, and
so they're pulling
from that.
Exactly. That's exactly what's that. You're stealing from that. There was a documentary done called Tapped, actually, which was out in like Midwest Pennsylvania, and they were hydrofracking, to obtain natural gas there, and that really affected the quality of people's well water there. They're actually able to light the water on fire. So
I mean, not even to say
not that that's happening here, but it's you could see how the places they were hydrofracking weren't even close to these people's homes, and they were still getting
I remember a movie, Erin Brockovich, if you remember that. With that,
yeah, that's another great one.
I mean, you have companies dumping waste,
dumping those toxins into that river, and and it ended up affecting or Texas, I think, right? And it affected a lot of local residents. So
so then. What factors inside can change and lead to your water quality changing?
Well, if you're doing any type of plumbing work or appliance replacement, anything like that, you have to make sure there's no lead in the fixtures or anything like that, which a lot of that has been mandated.
Right.
So within the house, you just want to make sure you have a quality company doing any type of plumbing work, or if they're working on replacing, say, a pressure tank in your house, you just want to make sure they're replacing a good portion of the plumbing work. Or if it's a city home and they only replace a portion of it, and there's still maybe an old galvanized pipe inside a wall,
Right.
then down the road, if they didn't catch that, that pipe could eventually break down, again, cause a lot of buildup coming through the pipes, which shouldn't have been there prior.
Okay.
So just got to make sure you have quality people doing work there.
So what's the biggest issue facing our water quality today, would you say?
Biggest issue I would say is just the way our world's changing. I mean, we have so many more people that are living here, right? So many more cars that the environmental factor, bringing it back
Right.
to physical science. All that exhaust is going up into the atmosphere. That's eventually coming down into our reservoirs and all different water supplies. So, that in turn with, I used Sandy as an example before,
Yeah.
the bigger storms that occur, some of these superstorms that come about,
Right.
they could really affect, the way that we live life and
Okay.
water quality.
So, just as a consumer now,
Sure.
if I'm thinking, okay, I want to change the water, I want to have healthy water, and you see things sold over the counter and whatnot. Is that a lot
Absolutely.
different than having
Company
a
like
company
mine or
come in there and do it?
Absolutely, yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah, well, I won't mention any names, but there's some of these products that you can buy, and you can filter your own water, right?
Correct.
You can maybe
Right.
pour it into it, and it trickles down through
Right.
it. Well, these are, open to air, okay? So they're not a closed-loop system. So potentially now you're filtering, but also, air is still getting to that filter where you're trying to that carafe. So
Right.
you could potentially have bacteria grow inside of that thing. So if you're not really keeping up on changing those filters and washing out that pitcher that you've bought, then you could just be making your own bacteria inside of there because it's open to the environment. People don't
Right.
think about that. So,
Okay, so-
whereas ours is a closed loop system. It goes. The point of view system we sell goes right underneath your kitchen sink. Like I said, you have a separate faucet, and it actually sterilizes itself. So you never have to worry about any bacteria growth,
Right.
and the level, the quality of the water coming out. Like ours is really purifying that water. So you have to watch. Some of these things you're buying, just whether it's countertop or online, maybe aren't doing all the things they suggest they're doing.
Right.
As well as the warranties on them. I mean, you're buying something from a manufacturer where sometimes you can't get in touch with that person that sold you the product if you're buying it online.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
really tough to get service on that. And like we said
Sure.
from the beginning, a product's only as good as the company that's servicing it or providing you a fix to whatever went wrong, because
Yeah. Is
things
there a lot-
definitely go wrong with with plumbing, installations and stuff. I mean,
for sure.
so
For
you just
sure.
can't avoid it. There's some manufacturing defects, and we just do our best to
Yeah, for sure.
to get there as soon as possible. And
Does a homeowner expect that there's going to be a lot of construction involved?
you know what? We're actually usually in and out in one day.
One day.
If it's a job that was $1,000 up to $20,000, it doesn't matter. As long as I try to have that, I put 2 to 3 to 4 guys on a job just to make sure it's done within that one day, because we want to get you up and running and have water back in your home, because we know how important it is. I mean,
Right.
to not have electricity is one thing, or to not have
Yeah.
other things we're used to in life, but not having water, can't
Right.
wash, can't brush your teeth, can't do laundry. It just holds you back from doing anything.
Sure. And is it a lot different if you have well water versus city water?
As far
for
as the installation,
installations
all
and
the
stuff?
installations are different. It really
Yeah.
depends on the layout of the house. Have they finished the basement off and we can't get access to
Right.
the main, or let's say that main is coming in, but it's in a little access panel,
Yeah.
which is like right next to the pool table or something. It
Right.
just depends on where that water's coming into the house.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So are there any local laws that people should be aware of?
Yeah, well, I mentioned before, really that local law number 7
Right. What
that
is
was
that?
created in
Just explain it.
2007. Yeah, so Westchester County, I guess, decided that they really wanted to be more stringent, maybe for their own benefit too. Find out exactly what is in some of this well water that's surrounding Westchester County.
Right.
Maybe they were worried about some of the things that were happening in Pennsylvania or whatever, and so they're testing for things that I cannot test for in a house.
Right.
VOCs, volatile organic compounds. which can come from fertilizers, so you might want to watch if your neighbor's grass looks a little bit too green. Again, this is well water issues. You want to make sure to look out for that, because it's only the crust of the earth, so those fertilizers can make their way down. Arsenic in the water. Copper levels. They're testing for lead to make sure that, maybe I mentioned before, if you do any plumbing work inside of a house, you want to make sure that they did, we're using the right materials. Well, if that house is 50 years old, it could have some lead fixtures inside of it, or galvanized pipe or something, so you're getting some form of metals in the water that you do not want, because obviously our bodies are filters. That's the other thing to think about. We touched on a lot of the water that we use inside of a house and how it affects that, but our bodies are filters, and your kidneys are filtering that water that you drink. So the more of what's in it, the tougher you're making your body work to filter that. So.
Especially with our kids and everything, you just want to make sure they're getting the most healthy. We try to get them exercise. We try and feed them properly.
Make them eat the right things, eat organically grown things, locally grown. So water's just another piece of the puzzle that adds into it. So you're just trying to, make your body work less and just enjoy life. And actually the outside of your body as well. Your skin is your biggest organ on your body, so obviously things can get soaked up through a shower. Chlorine, and just to bring that back, is when we sell a dechlorinator for a whole house, I always get the response, geez, my skin isn't as dry as it used to be, or the hardness in the water again, coating the outside of your skin, so you can't, your detergents and shampoos and things.
Are there any restrictions on where your program can be utilized, like condominiums versus houses versus co-ops? I mean, do you want to cross any of that?
That's a good question. Yes, sometimes, yes. We do install, systems sometimes based on the layout of the house. Sometimes I cannot get to that main supply for the house. It's just in an impossible place. Or if it's for an apartment complex, I can't get, obviously that supplies the whole place, right? So I can't get to that just for that one apartment. So that's when we go to a point of use system. So that's when you put one right under your sink, and then you could have that separate faucet to have quality drinking water from. So sometimes it's rare, but sometimes we can't do exactly what the customer's looking for. But
and I didn't know if people would have to have approval by the boards and all this stuff, or is that something that not necessary usually?
No, we usually do get approvals, and we get insurance certificates and everything, but it's usually pretty easy to get by. It's really not, because the plumbing work that we do to install these things is really not a huge part of the installation. It's just maybe cutting a few pipes, making a few connections. It's really more the placement of the equipment. So that's why it is fairly easy for me to get someone up and running in one day. So it's
you're not really encumbering the rest of the units.
No.
If it was, for example, condominium.
No, it's a great question. I honestly don't think of often, but no, we're really not infringing on other people's quality of water. Inside of that condominium or apartment complex. And even for the house, I mean, it's just really cutting the pipe open, connecting the equipment, which doesn't take up a huge amount of floor space. A couple of feet in width and height and diameter. But not infringing that much. And we have all different shapes, and so we have over 30 different products. So they make some real high efficiency things that are only a couple of feet tall. So
so you can fit
we're able to put
pretty
these
much
things
anywhere.
They've thought. Our supplier has thought of a lot of different ways to
make it
get
work.
around things.
Sure.
And the non-electric aspect of it that we provide is really something that people love, because with all the power outages that happen, you don't have to worry about resetting the timer on it, because some of these are for the whole house system. Some of them backwash themselves, and they're some are based on a timer. So
you're saying it's non-electric. So what does that mean? How is the whole system run?
Well, our particular product that we are the only dealer of in Westchester and Fairfield, Connecticut, runs off kinetic energy. So it's based on hydropower. So it's based on the water that actually flows through the system. So it has a flow meter inside of it, which measures the number of gallons of water you're using, and based on how many gallons you're using, it cleans itself out. So
that's great. So there's no additional cost for electricity and whatnot?
No,
or very minimal?
Depends on the system. Some of them do have electric that we have to go, if it's like a little injection pump or something like that. But a lot of our softeners, neutralizers don't use any electricity. Most of the, say, 8, 9 out of 10.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
real interesting.
Applications,
Good.
No, it's a great product. That was one of the things that my dad fell in love with, He found the product in another part of the country and kind of brought it to Westchester. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
No,
I know your dad.
Great.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. No, thank you. He is. Yeah.
Do you have any last thoughts before we wind up the show today?
Just be aware of the things around your house. There is a way to fix some of these issues that you might have, overlooked in the past. If you might say, man, I have dry skin, and you just add some moisturizer, you don't really think about it.
Right.
But it might be the water. If you have chlorine in that water, the hardness. If you're really working hard to keep an appliance working properly, or scrubbing the toilet a little too often, or a sink or wherever. I just say that you notice it in bathrooms a lot, but just kind of look beyond that first layer, and there might be a fix to help you out. So
great.
Right.
Frank.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right,
I want to thank Frank from Westfair for all his insightful information, and we hope to see you on the next show. Good night.